Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Educated Weirdo. This channel is designed to provide you with innovative information that empowers your intellect. So, please enjoy.
A genius, by definition, is a person who is exceptionally intelligent or creative, either generally or in some particular respect. It is these types of minds that have been known to shape and inspire society and its technological advancements over the centuries. However, every now and again someone will use their intellectual gifts to wreak havoc on society and its norms. One such individual cynical enough to do so was Theodore John Kaczynski. John Kaczynski was born in Chicago on May 22, 1942, to Wanda Teresa and Theodore Richard Kaczynski, a sausage maker. Both of his parents were from the working class, and were born in Poland and raised as Catholics. But they stopped believing in God as they got older. On April 11, 1939, they got married. 3 years after David, his brother, was born, in 1952, the family moved to a suburb of Chicago called Evergreen Park. Ted switched to Evergreen Park Central Junior High School. He skipped the 6th grade after tests showed that his IQ was 167. Later, Kaczynski said that this was a turning point in his life. Before, he got along with his peers and was even a leader. But after he skipped ahead of them, he felt like he didn't belong with the older kids, who picked on him. Ted and David were both smart, but Ted was very smart. People who lived near him said he was smart but lonely. Kaczynski went to Evergreen Park Community High School and did well in school. He was in the marching band and played the trombone. He was also a member of the math, biology, coin, and German clubs. In 1996, someone from the same class said, he was never really seen as a person with a personality of his own. People have always thought of him as a walking brain, if you will. During this time, Kaczynski became very interested in math and spent hours each day studying and working on hard problems. He started hanging out with a group of boys who were also interested in science and math. They were called the Briefcase Boys because they liked to carry briefcases. Kaczynski was smarter than his classmates all through high school. When he was put in a more advanced math class, he quickly learned the material. He skipped the 11th grade, and by going to summer school, he was able to finish school at age 15. Kaczynski was one of 5 finalists at his school for the National Merit Scholarship. He was told to apply to Harvard. Even though he was only 15, Harvard accepted him. He went there on a scholarship when he was 16 years old. Later, a classmate said that Kaczynski was not emotionally ready. Before he was ready, they packed him up and sent him to Harvard. He didn't even have a driver's license. During his first year at Harvard, Kaczynski lived at 8 Prescott Street, which was made for the youngest and most mature students to live in a small, cozy place. He lived at Eliot House for the next 3 years. Housemates and other students at Harvard said that Kaczynski was very smart but didn't like to talk to people. Kaczynski got his Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics from Harvard in 1962 with a grade point average of 3.12. In his second year at Harvard, Kaczynski took part in a study led by Harvard psychologist Henry Murray that author Alston Chase called a deliberately cruel psychological experiment. Subjects were told they would argue with a fellow student about their personal philosophy, and they were asked to write essays about their personal beliefs and goals. The essays were given to a person who didn't know who they were. That person would then confront and insult the subject in what Murray himself called vehement, broad, and personally abusive attacks, using the essay's content as ammunition. Electrodes kept track of how the person's body was reacting. These interactions were filmed, and the subjects were later shown over and over again how angry and upset they had been. During the 3 years of the experiment, someone would insult and humiliate Kaczynski every week. As part of the study, Kaczynski worked for 200 hours. Later, Kaczynski's lawyers said that his dislike of mind control techniques was because he took part in Murray's study. Some sources say that Murray's experiments were part of Project MKUltra, which was the CIA's study of how to control people's minds. Chase and other people have also said that this event might have made Kaczynski want to do bad things. Kaczynski said he didn't like Murray and his co-workers, mostly because he thought their experiments were an invasion of his privacy. Still, he said he was pretty sure that his time with Professor Murray didn't have a big impact on the rest of his life. Kaczynski went to school at the University of Michigan in 1962. In 1964 and 1967, he got his master's and doctoral degrees in mathematics. His first choice for graduate school was not Michigan. He had applied to the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Chicago, and both accepted him, but neither gave him a teaching job or financial aid. Michigan gave him a grant of $2,310 a year, which is equal to $20,693 today, and a job as a teacher. At Michigan, Kaczynski studied complex analysis, especially the theory of geometric functions. Professor Peter Duran said of Kaczynski, "He was not like most people. He wasn't like the other students in his class. He paid a lot more attention to his work. He was driven to find the truth about math." George Piranian, one of his math professors at the University of Michigan, said, "It's not enough to say he was smart." In a grade evaluation, Professor Alan Shields said that Kaczynski was the best man I have seen. In 1966, Kaczynski had strong sexual fantasies about being a woman for a few weeks. He decided to change his gender because of this. He made an appointment to see a psychiatrist, but he changed his mind while he was waiting and didn't say why he had made the appointment. After that, he was so angry that he thought about killing the psychiatrist and other people he didn't like. Kaczynski said that this event was a major turning point in his life. He said, "I was disgusted by what my uncontrolled sexual desires almost made me do. And I felt ashamed, and I hated the psychiatrist very much. Then, something happened that changed my life in a big way. Like a phoenix, I rose from the ashes of my hopelessness to find a beautiful new hope." Late in 1967, when he was 25 years old, Kaczynski became an acting assistant professor at the University of California, Berkeley. There, he taught math. In September 1968, Kaczynski was named an assistant professor, which showed that he was on the right track to get tenure. His evaluations as a teacher show that his students did not like him. He seemed uncomfortable teaching, stuck to the book, and wouldn't answer questions. On June 30, 1969, Kaczynski quit his job without giving any reason. In a 1970 letter to Kaczynski's thesis advisor Alan Shields, the chairman of the mathematics department, John W. Addison Jr., said that Kaczynski's resignation was quite out of the blue. He also said that Kaczynski seemed almost pathologically shy and that, as far as he knew, Kaczynski didn't have any close friends in the department. After he quit his job at Berkeley, Kaczynski moved to Lombard, Illinois, to live with his parents. 2 years later, in 1971, he moved to a remote cabin he had built outside of Lincoln, Montana. There, he could live a simple life with little money and no electricity or running water, working odd jobs and getting a lot of money from his family. Kaczynski's first goal was to learn how to take care of himself so he could live on his own. He rode an old bike into town, and a volunteer at the local library said he went there often to read classic books in their original languages. Later, other people who lived in Lincoln said that this kind of life wasn't unusual in the area. In the 1990 census, Someone said that Kaczynski's cabin had a bed, 2 chairs, storage trunks, a gas stove, and a lot of books. Starting in 1975, Kaczynski did things like set fires and set up bombs to stop new buildings from going up near his cabin. He also spent a lot of time reading sociology and political philosophy books, such as those by Jacques Ellul. David Kaczynski, Ted's brother, later said that the Technological Society, Ellul's book, became Ted's Bible. In 1998, Kaczynski said, "When I read the book for the first time, I was happy because I thought, finally, someone is saying what I've been thinking all along." Kaczynski's father went to Montana more than once and was impressed by Ted's skills in the wild. In 1990, Kaczynski's father was told he had lung cancer that would kill him. Later that year, the family met without Kaczynski to talk about their future. Kaczynski's father killed himself at home on October 2, 1990, by shooting himself. Buckley Crist, a professor of materials engineering at Northwestern University, was the first person who got a bomb in the mail. A package with Crist's address on it was found in a parking lot at the University of Illinois at Chicago on May 25, 1978. The package was returned to Crist, but he hadn't sent it, so he called campus police to find out what was going on. When Officer Terry Marker opened the package, it went off, hurting a few people. Kaczynski went back to Chicago for the bombing in May 1978 and stayed there for a while to work at a foam rubber factory with his father and brother. In August 1978, his brother fired him for writing insulting limericks about a female supervisor Ted had dated briefly. Nearly a year after the first bomb, Kaczynski sent another one to Northwestern University. When graduate student John Harris opened the bomb, which had been hidden in a cigar box and left on a table, he got a few small cuts, but that was it. Most of the bombs Kaczynski made had fake clues, which he made hard to find on purpose so they would look more real. Some of the clues were metal plates with the initials on them FC hidden somewhere, usually in the pipe end cap, in bombs, and a note saying "Woo, it works," left in a bomb that didn't go off. I said it would. In 1981, a package sent to Leroywood Berenson, an electrical engineering professor at Brigham Young University, was found in a hallway at the University of Utah. The package had the return address of Berenson. It was taken to the campus police, and a bomb squad took care of it. Patrick C. Fisher, a professor of computer science at Vanderbilt University, got a bomb in May of the next year. Fisher was on vacation in Puerto Rico at the time, and his secretary, Janet Smith, was hurt when she opened the bomb. The next 2 bombs that Kaczynski set off were meant for people at the University of California, Berkeley. The first one, in July 1982, hurt engineering professor Diogenes Angelakis very badly. In May 1985, John Hauser, a graduate student and captain in the U.S. Air Force, lost the use of 4 fingers and his sight in one eye. Kaczynski made the bomb by hand out of pieces of wood. On February 20, 1987, a similar attack on a computer store happened in Salt Lake City, Utah. Gary Wright was hurt when he tried to move the bomb, which looked like a piece of wood, from the store's parking lot. Wright's left arm nerves were cut by the explosion, and more than 200 pieces of shrapnel went into his body. Kaczynski was seen putting the bomb in Salt Lake City. Because of this, a sketch of a man in a hoodie with a mustache and aviator sunglasses was widely shared. In 1993, after a 6-year break, Kaczynski sent a bomb to the home of Charles Epstein from the University of California, San Francisco. When Epstein opened the package, he lost several fingers. In 1995, Kaczynski sent several letters to the media explaining what he wanted to do and demanding that a major newspaper print his 35,000-word essay Industrial Society and Its Future exactly as it was written. The FBI called this essay the Unabomber Manifesto. He said that if this demand was met, he would stop being a terrorist. There was debate about whether or not to publish the essay, but Attorney General Janet Reno and FBI Director Louis Freeh both thought it should be published out of concern for public safety and in the hopes that a reader would be able to figure out who wrote it. Bob Guccione of Penthouse offered to put it out himself. Kaczynski replied that Penthouse was less respectable than the New York Times and the Washington Post. He said that, to increase our chances of getting our stuff published in some respectable periodical, he would reserve the right to plant one, and only one, bomb meant to kill, after our manuscript has been published if Penthouse published the document instead of the Times or the Post. The essay came out in the Washington Post on September 19, 1995. Kaczynski used a typewriter to write his manuscript, and instead of italics, he capitalized whole words to make them stand out. He always talked about himself as we or FC, which stands for Freedom Club. Kaczynski says at the beginning of industrial society and its future, the Industrial Revolution and its results have been a disaster for the human race. He writes that technology has made society less stable, made life less satisfying, and caused a lot of psychological pain for many people. Kaczynski says that as technology improves, most people waste their time on things that don't matter. Kaczynski says that technological progress can be stopped, which is different from the point of view of people who, he says, know that technology has bad effects but accept it anyway. He wants people to live like they did in the past. Agents from the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit and Chief Agent John Douglas put out a psychological profile of the unidentified bomber in 1980. It said that the criminal was a man who was smarter than average and had ties to academia. Later, this profile was changed to say that the criminal was a neo-Luddite with a degree in the hard sciences. However, this psychologically based profile was thrown out in 1983. FBI analysts came up with a different theory based on the physical evidence found in the bomb pieces. The suspect was described as a blue-collar airplane mechanic in this other profile. The Unabomber task force set up a toll-free hotline. Anyone who gave information that led to the Unabomber's capture could get a $1 million reward. David, his brother, after reading the manifesto a week after it came out in September 1995, looked through old family papers and found letters that Ted had sent to newspapers in the 1970s to protest how technology was being used in ways that were similar to the language in the manifesto. David later hired Tony Bouchelier, an attorney in Washington, D.C., to organize the evidence gathered by Swanson and get in touch with the FBI. At the beginning of 1996, an investigator who worked for Bouchelier got in touch with Clinton R. Van Zandt, a former FBI hostage negotiator and criminal profiler. Bouchelier asked him to compare the manifesto to copies of David's brother's handwritten letters that were typed up. Van Zandt's first look at the manifesto, which had been out in the public for half a year, showed that there was a better than 60% chance that it was written by the same person. Bouchelier gave FBI agent Molly Flynn a copy of Ted Kaczynski's 1971 essay. She sent the paper to the task force in San Francisco. An FBI profiler used linguistic analysis to find similarities in the writings and decide that the person who wrote the essays in the manifesto was almost certainly the same person. David was told by the FBI that he would stay anonymous and that his brother would not find out who had turned him in. However, in early April 1996, CBS News found out who he was. The FBI worked quickly to finish the search warrant and have a federal judge in Montana sign it. On April 3, 1996, FBI agents went to Kaczynski's cabin and found a seclusive and dirty Kaczynski. A search turned up a hidden stash of bomb parts, 40,000 handwritten journal pages with descriptions of bomb making and one live bomb. Kaczynski is currently serving 8 life sentences without the possibility of parole for his heinous crimes, ending one of the longest and most expensive manhunts in recorded history.
For more videos like this, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to smash the like button. I am the Educated Weirdo, and as always, much love and respect.